All right.
Well, my memories of the Mission Fest are that my parents, I know, one year were on the committee to go around to the farmers the night before to collect cream and eggs. And then those items were brought to the community park the next morning and mixed up. And then I can hear the gasoline engine. They had electric, wasn't electric, gasoline engine that made the ice cream, that had a pulley on it, and that churned the ice cream. I can just hear it in my ears yet, that pop, 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 that they made their own ice cream down at the park. And it was delicious, really good. And
You were a child,
I was a child,
so you
yeah.
didn't have to do
I
that
was,
work. But
I was a child, and the Mission Fest was always on a Wednesday when I grew up. They had it on a Wednesday, and then a lot of the people from town, the workers, would come out. And sometimes later, I know when I was on the committee, we had a special table for the people that came from town, because at that time we had waitresses. The waitresses waited on people. Now we have a cafeteria, so you help yourself.
Yes.
But we used to have a special table because we didn't want the people to have to wait. We knew that if they had to wait, they wouldn't stay. So we had a special table for the town people. And I'm not sure when we changed from Wednesday to Saturday, but I suppose it was when the women went to work. The women went to work, and then there wasn't anybody to work, and it just seemed to work better, I guess, to have it on Saturday. Got more people to come and visit. And back in olden days, we always had people from the cities that came, the women from the cities, and they were always so dressed up and looked so fashionable, compared to what we thought us old farmers looked like. And but we looked forward to having them because it was nice of them to come.
and they'd spend the whole day.
Oh yeah, you got there and have dinner. Well, they used to have a program in the auditorium, a religious program, like a missionary or somebody visiting. But then they thought, well, that was kind of, all the women were in the kitchen. Nobody could listen to it, so it would just be a few of the old people that were up in the auditorium listening to the speaker. So I don't know what they stopped that, but that was in my day. They stopped having speakers, and then they just go for dinner. And then they have a Mission Sunday. That's not too long ago. They have a Mission Sunday in church
The next Sunday.
instead of having a speaker down at the park. But of course, as a kid, that was the one big thing of the whole year, just like Christmas. Christmas, and you looked forward to the fest. And I remember my grandmother giving me a quarter to spend because it went for missions. And she was very mission-minded, so I got a quarter. But I suppose for a quarter, I could probably get pop was probably more than a nickel or a dime, and ice cream. I could get quite a bit to eat on a quarter in those days. Yeah, that was a big deal at the fest. But I remember when I got old enough to be a waitress, it was kind of scary because I wasn't sure I was doing the right thing. And I don't think anybody ever trained us. I think we just started working, but I guess we made it through.
Right. What do you remember about the auction?
I remember about the auction was the auditorium, and we always had big baskets of peonies up on the stage. The stage is different than it is now. There was stages on the north end, and always think of peonies. When I think of the fest, I think of peonies. And I don't remember much about the auction, except I remember the first year that I had to help with the recording of the things, and that was scary because I hadn't ever done it before. You had to write down what was purchased and the price it was purchased. And I don't think it was the person that brought it or bought it. Maybe it was. Yeah, it probably was. That's what I remember about that. And I've been on the committee many times, on the food committee. That was fun because you were on with some of your friends, and You had to plan. I remember the year I was on the food committee. We used to have a food committee that served for a whole year. And in the year of the 100th anniversary of Nordland, I was on the food committee with Mabel Thompson, Violet Hagen, and Phyllis Anderson. And in those days, the food committee served for a whole year. So we had quite a few weddings we'd served at, and several funerals. And then we had the anniversary of the church. We had Friday night, we had something. And then Saturday was something all day. And then on Sunday was the big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And on Sunday, when we had the big deal, we got all the food ready, but we asked Zion ladies to serve for us so we could be up at the services.
Oh.
We just got through with the 100th anniversary, then we had to send out slips for the fest.
Oh.
In those days, you had to send out individual slips. I don't know how we didn't mail them, maybe we did. We didn't have a mailbox. So, and then I'd like to see that book again. I don't know how many things we served at that one year, just the four of us. We're in charge, I mean everybody served.
Mm-hmm.
But I think after that, or shortly after that, we went to, for a while it was circles.
Mm-hmm.
We had circles served for different things. And then now, of course, it's by the month.
Mm-hmm.
So that has evolved a lot with the serving.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always been fun. I've always enjoyed working in the kitchen, and I haven't done it for a while because I'm too old now. But I bring stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a funeral or something, I can call them up and say, I'll bring a cake
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. But yeah, that's my memory of that.
How was it working in the old kitchen in the basement? Is that kind of crowded, or?
Well, I don't know. We did it. It's hard. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. And when they had the lutefisk supper, they cooked all the lutefisk back in the old furnace room. They had gas stoves put up. And I remember mashing potatoes in the old shed that was out there.
Mm-hmm.
We cooked, and I look back on it and I think, how did we do it? No running water. No, and we served at the lutefisk supper. We served 1,000 people. But most of that was done before. See, we haven't had the lutefisk supper since the late '60s.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of that was before I was really involved a lot,
Mm-hmm.
But I worked. I always worked. But I was on the committee too. That's right. The first year, we were three newly married women. Must have been the late '40s. I know it was Edna Olson and Viola Nelson and myself, and then Ann Chestnut. Ann Chestnut was the old one. I wonder how she put up with us. But she was a good teacher, so I guess we did it.
You learned.
Yeah.
Learned your lessons.
We learned our lesson well. Yeah, I don't know how we put on those dinners. People would wait for lutefisk for several hours. I don't know if they're that patient now anymore, but they'd come and buy tickets and they just had to wait their turn.
Wow.
And we didn't have very much room downstairs,
Mm-hmm.
But we did it,
Mm-hmm.
and people came. I guess if you're a lutefisk lover, you'll wait for hours.
I guess. Yes, that's right.
Well, I think that's about it. I really should have sat down and made an outline before I did this. But maybe it's better to be spontaneous.
I mean, you had kind of something to go on.
Do you drink coffee, or do you want some root beer or Sprite?
I would have a cup of coffee. Do you have some made?
All I do is push the button.
Yeah, I would.
It's Sanka though. I have to drink Sanka because my blood pressure's up.